What up, what up, what up? This is Mike, the philosopher, here with a special guest, Dr. Khafilah. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
All right, all right. You looking nice and relaxed now. What's going on? Exactly where where
Hey,
what
I'm on
what
a
area?
vacation in southern Taiwan. Just
Ah,
soaking up the rays and the beach and all that good stuff.
oh, the benefits of being a doctor, boy, I tell you. You get the vacation in Taiwan and all over the place. Let me ask you this: what is your experience in Taiwan? How are the people? How are things there?
Well, I mean, I would say this. You always know that you are an American because you're the only one using the fork. You're the only one standing 6 feet tall. Everybody else is 5 feet six, 5'3", and you're the only one fat because these Asian people are tiny people. So you clearly know you're the American when you look at what's going on around you. But the Taiwanese people are very kind, very friendly people. I've had nothing but good vibes and good experiences since I've been here. Yeah.
So you 6 feet tall, huh? Wow. You
Well, 5'11", I like to push a little bit, say I'm
five,
six.
like, yeah,
I,
say you six
yeah.
feet.
But listen, hey, 5'11", 6 feet, you're still taller than most of the Asian women.
Yeah, hey,
So,
you probably got most men too, by the way.
ironically, I saw a really tall Asian guy the other day, and I said, "Whoa!" But I kind of felt he's probably American bred, or he's probably mixed with something. I mean, he was a good 6 foot, and I was like, "Oh, that's unusual." So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, how do you pronounce it? The Taiwanese,
Taiwanese people, yes,
Taiwanese people. So they're
yeah.
pretty kind. They've been pretty nice to you
I
thus
mean,
far.
yeah. Taiwan is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the third safest country to live in and travel to in the world. I mean, I think Japan is probably ranked number one or number two, and Taiwan is number three. I mean, I haven't had any problems or issues since I've been here. I think probably the biggest challenge is that the stairs, I mean, again, I am towering over most.
Mm,
And the curiosity, you go to some places, you can feel the racism, but that's not the case here, not at least not with me. I think it's more of the curiosity, like, who is this?
mhm.
Because oftentimes most of us don't travel to this side of the world.
Right.
um, and so when they see someone, it's like, whoa. And, it's about, is she African? Are they African? And then when you open up your mouth and they go, whoa, American. And that happened to me. It was like the time this little old Taiwanese man was like surprised. It's like,
Mhm.
American? And I said, yeah. He was like, whoa. So it's kind of shocking for most of them because to see Black Americans. White Americans, they see them all day, every day. But Black Americans on this side is kind of, like a surprise. We go to China, they expect to see us in China. They think we celebrities. Oh, there's Michelle Obama, there's so. But here it's a little different. It's more of the stares, like, who is she and why is she here? So yeah.
Right, right. So you just on vacation then, right? Or
I'm in the southern part of Taiwan, which is near Kensington Beach, which is where some of the resorts, excuse me, are, and the beaches. And so I'm on vacation for almost 2 weeks now. And I come off vacation on Monday and get back to the grind. Yeah, on Monday. Yeah.
is there a way that you can kind of show us your scenery? Because it looked like
I sure
you.
can.
Okay,
I
yeah.
can.
Let's see. Oh, nice. Oh, you got the. Okay, let me stop talking here. Hold
I mean, if you come to these types of places, I think you want to get one of the nicer hotels and live it up, and
on.
enjoy
Oh,
yourself.
yeah, that's a nice view. That is a really nice view. It looked like there was some kind of sphere or some kind of tower.
It's like we call it like the UFO thing. It's like a restaurant that has oh, can you see it? It has like a bar, a cafe, a Starbucks inside, that type of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Can you see
man.
that?
Yeah, right on the
Yeah.
water too.
Yeah,
That is
very
awesome.
nice. Yeah, very nice. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's about also changing the narrative. When we travel to places where it's not very common to see people of color, in particular Black Americans, I think it's your attitude and changing the narrative in terms of how people perceive us. Because as you know, we talked about before, the media is a very powerful tool, and so the only reference that some people have to Black Americans is the media. And so when they see one of us, their files go to what they see in television. And then when you present something very different, it's a different reaction sometimes. It's like, whoa. So yeah.
That is a great, great, excellent point because I've been saying that too, that us as Black people, the men and the women, we have to do a bit of a PR campaign and
Yeah.
really try and build up our public relations all around the world. Okay, for those who, because everybody don't see us, and like you say, we don't travel all over the place, and when they see us, they kind of wonder, like, how we're going to be, how we're going to act,
Mhm.
and it's important to erase some of the stereotypes and negative images about Black people by showing them that we are good people, we are humanitarians, this, that, and the third. Yes, we have issues, but every culture do, and
All
being a
Blacks are
human
not the
being.
same.
Yeah, yeah, all we come in, we're very diverse too. We're very diverse as far as a people. Some people like to say we're not a monolith, and I get that. My whole thing is, if you see a African or African American traveling, they're probably upper crust people. I'm gonna just be honest, because those are the ones who have access to travel, have access to resources, and have a curiosity to learn about other cultures.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially in this part of the world and other parts of the world. I mean, it's very common to see us in the Caribbean, but when you talk about Asia, um, Europe gets quite a few of us, but when you talk about places like Asia, it's not as common because you have to also acquire a taste for the food because Asian folks are interesting. It's like octopuses, snails, is all kinds of interesting things. And so if your
mhm.
palate is not down for that, it can be very challenging in terms of finding stuff to eat. So you have to be kind of flexible and open-minded when you come to these types of places. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is it that kind of took you back, or kind of not shocked you, but kind of something you had to get used to when you arrived in Taiwan? What was it? What was it culturally that you found kind of
Uh,
different?
well, this is not my first time in an Asian country. I took my son to Japan in April of this year, of 2023 for his birthday. So I'll say here, because Taiwan is not a country; it's an action island, and most people think it's a country, but it's an island. So if you look at it on the map, it's sitting right there in the Pacific Ocean. It's like right out there in the ocean, and then you got all these other countries around it. So it's technically a conglomerate of islands, really. Same thing with Japan; it's islands. I would think, ah, I don't think there was anything that really shocked me in terms of food because my son and I got a precursor to it when we were in Japan. I think probably the most shocking thing was octopus balls, balls, and my son and I both said we didn't even know an octopus had balls. So
For real, for real, for
So
real.
see them, I mean, they have it here too. So you see them, frying and marinating octopus balls, and I said, "Oh, nah, we're gonna have to pass on that one." And like things like squid, and, those things that we typically see on National Geographic, that we go, "Wow, that's amazing," but you ain't gonna eat, but you see it here, you go, "Whoa, nah, I'll pass." So
Yeah.
I think it's that for me. It's just the exotic types of sea creatures that you typically just was like, nah, I'm not gonna eat that. So
Mm.
my son and I, we spent a lot of time doing a lot of the Asian noodles. We go to the grocery store, buy our own food. There's a lot of the American influence here. Unfortunately, you got the Pizza Hut, the Domino's, the Burger King, the McDonald's. But then you also got some high-end restaurants. You got Roof Chris, Smith's and McCormick. There's a couple others that are like high-end restaurants as well. You got a couple 5-star, 3, 4-star Michelin restaurants here. I think David Ramsey has a restaurant here. So there's some high-end things. And of course, there's the shopping galore. You can do Gucci, Louis, Dolce and Gabbana, Hermes. If you're into that, then there's the version of Rodeo Drive in Taiwan, and Rolex, anything you want, it's there. So I think the average, I would say that Taiwan is the little Dubai, in the sense that you can come here and shop like crazy. It's like every other car is a Benz or a Lexus or a Range Rover, and you can always tell the rich and the echelon because of the types of things that they drive and the neighborhoods that they live in. But it is definitely a little Dubai when it comes to shopping, and it's a tax. You can get a tax thing right off, whatever, when
duty
you shop.
free, like duty free.
Yeah, a duty free thing. They got the malls, they got the Nike outlets. It's really a little Dubai. I mean, if you're into that, you can get basically anything. The catch is that most of that stuff is designed for the petite Asian body type. Americans and Africans, it ain't gonna flow with us too much.
Right. Yeah, they probably ain't got my size over there, so
it's just they're very petite people. So yeah.
Let me ask you, have you done any like research as far as the cost of living there? Like, can you compare it to the US, since they seem to live a little Dubai lifestyle? What is the cost of living as far as you can see?
I would say it's fairly expensive to live here. Things are not cheap. Food is, but lifestyle is not. It just depends on what you want to do. What I do like about the Taiwanese people, they're minimalists. So if there's 2 people, you're going to get a 2-bedroom apartment, or maybe a 3-bedroom house. They make use of the space, so you don't have all these bulky items like we do. The microwave is here. We don't have, and the cook. It's like basically things are built into the walls or built into the wood cabinets. So they make use of the space, and that's one of the things that I really like about being here is their use of space. The beds have a lot to be desired because they tend to be flat, and so it's an ideal of being good for your back. So you definitely need a cushion here, which brings me to, there's a Costco's here and there's an IKEA here. So like I said, if you want a European or American lifestyle, you can clearly have it here because they've got just about everything. I went into Costco's a couple of weeks ago and I was like, wow, this is no different than the Costco's in the States, So hey, same thing with IKEA. There's no difference. Everything is there.
Same stuff, yeah.
So you can live very comfortable here.
Is it because a lot of Asian places are cheaper than America, right? So is it in the middle of America and Dubai? It's about in the middle of America and Dubai.
I would say for the high end shopping, it's Dubai. It's a Rodeo Drive for definitely several of them here. Several top 5-star restaurants. Several. There are quite a few here actually. So I would say if you're on that end, then yeah, you can find anything that you want. But if you're a middle class person, you can make it here. You can make it. You go to the farmers market and you buy all your fruits and vegetables and your spices versus going to Carrefour or going to Costco's. You could do it that way and you can save the money. You can ride a bike. Most people ride bikes or scooters here. You get up 6 o'clock in the morning and you're at a stoplight, you'll see about 40, 50 scooters at the stoplight. If you ever been to India, that's what, you see all these scooters. That's what they do in Taipei, in the city there is. And they have a subway system just equivalent to, I would say, the subway system in Washington, D.C. They have buses that run. Then there's we call it the MARC train. They have a MARC train, and then they have the high-speed rail, the bullet train. So there's the modes of transportation are massive here. So there you definitely can get around. Other than when you're like coming out to places like this, you definitely need to fly or take the express train or drive. But in the city, and taxis and Uber are everywhere. It's like I
Wow.
would say the city of Taipei is Taipei City. I would say it's like a little New York, in that
Mm,
regard. Because you have the Ubers, you have the regular taxis, you have the bus, you have the subway, you have the trains, and so it's a small island with a lot of people on it, and it's a lot going on, and it's very very humid here. I'm
very
on the
human.
coastal area, so it's not as bad,
Yeah.
but you
I
can
mean, it
expect.
is an island, so right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So you can expect easily, 2, 3 showers in a day because it's humid.
yeah. Is there any places or landmarks or things that you experienced as far as entertainment that you liked or can talk about?
Um, Thus far, we've only done the beaches because this has been our first major break, my first major break that I've had.
Mm.
But you got southern Taiwan, northern, east, west. So there's so much to see and do here. They have a small Jamaican, because there's a Jamaican restaurant here. So they have a small Jamaican community here. They also have a small Caribbean community, and I know in February they usually do the Latin American. Their equivalent to Mardi Gras or Carnival takes place here
Oh,
in
I see.
February. Yeah, so um, this is my first time having some downtime for an extended period of time. So I just said I'm gonna go to the beach. But there's like the strawberry festival that I think is in northern Taiwan that I want to go to. Then you got the mountains and snow, and it's just all kinds of things that you can do here. It's really really a beautiful country, and I think most people sleep on Taiwan. At least most of my friends did. When I showed them pictures, they were like, "What? Coming to Taiwan?" I was like, "Yeah, y'all sleeping on Taiwan." Yeah, because
That's
it's
probably why they were surprised to see a black American there because yeah, a lot of black Americans probably is sleeping. We it's so many places to go. Taiwan, I don't know where that falls on the most black Americans
yeah,
list.
because you
You know
don't
what I
really
mean?
think about it. Because most of us think, and there's nothing wrong with it. Most of us think about Thailand and Singapore, and when you think about Asian, so it's in Dubai. I have a friend that just got back from Dubai. Those are the places that you generally think about, and Taiwan is not one of those places that people most think about. But don't sleep on Taiwan. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Right.
Beautiful.
Right.
Lots of temples, big Buddhas in certain areas. So we have just begun to explore Taiwan. Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. Let me ask you this. Would you consider yourself a passport girl or
A
passport sis?
passport ticket, passport
Yeah.
chick. Um, no, because I'm not traveling around the world looking for a husband. But I would say I consider myself an expat or a Black American that um, changes the narrative in terms of what travel should look like for Black Americans. There's a group called Black Kids Do Travel on Facebook that I follow, that are moms and single moms as well as families that take their children around the world and give their child a different perspective. But no, I'm not a passport chick. I happen to be an expat. I happen to be. This is like my fourth or fifth year doing this. I generally take a break, come back to the United States, and then decide what I'm going to do next. And as you know, prior to coming to Taiwan, I was in Ethiopia and
Yeah. Yeah. I was
over
gonna
in
ask you, like,
so,
you've been in probably at least what, a quarter of the African countries?
yeah, mostly West Africa. I'm sorry, mostly East Africa. And my last assignment was in Ethiopia, and before that was Sudan, and before that was in Kenya. Yeah.
How would you compare Taiwan to Kenya, for
Mhm.
instance?
I don't think you can really compare Taiwan to the infrastructure. Like if you said South Africa, I would say okay. Um, Kenya, I would say okay. But certain African countries, the infrastructure is just not there. We're still at a point where we're trying to get there. The
Right.
infrastructure in terms of roads, cleanliness, and things like that is like on par here in Taiwan. It's like it's so clean. I think another thing that I found very, very fascinating is like if you leave something, when you realize that you've lost it and you go back to that spot, is where you left it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, is where you left it. And I just kind of chalked it up to maybe the rules that they have in place about stealing and things like that is the reason why maybe people don't mess with it. If you leave it there, it's too great of a risk, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you leave your phone, you leave your laptop, you go back, it's right there where you left it.
That's awesome.
Which is just like mind-boggling because you expect somebody to steal your iPhone or to steal your laptop. You go back and it's right where you left it. And it's
it sounds like that's you know that from experience. You must have left something
it's
somewhere.
The most shocking. Yeah, sunglasses. It's the most shocking thing.
Yeah.
Dang. You know,
you can't do that in the States.
Hey, you won't see that in the cabs, in the Ubers. If you leave it, Uber driver come back, give it back to you. It's the most shocking thing. You go, wow, you know. Because you lose an iPhone, people like, especially the newer ones, you expect them not to get their back. Oh no, you left it on the table in the restaurant. You go back to that restaurant, on that table in that restaurant, and it's shocking.
Wow.
Yeah, it's shocking. It's like, wow, okay.
You have a child too, right?
Yes, I have a son.
How is your son adapting to everything in Taiwan? Do he like it, or is there a difference for him?
He loves it. And I think for him, it's the accessibility, it's the access to different things. Like Ethiopia was a very challenging place for him. It wasn't bad, but it was challenging. Sudan was even more challenging. It's probably the most difficult post that I've had, most difficult and most in terms of hardship, and that's probably why they pay so well, because it's a hardship post. But he enjoys it. You know, we have people do Taco Tuesday. We do Sushi Tuesday. Tuesday night is our sushi night where we go out and get sushi. And Wednesday night is our pizza night. And so we have certain things that we put in place. So he's one of those kids that likes sushi, that likes seaweed, that likes quail eggs. And that's only because I exposed that to him early in the game when he was very young, prior to us even coming about to Asia or even thinking about an Asian country. So he likes it. I will say that the thing that he finds very difficult is the stares from children, and sometimes the stares from adults. He finds it to be very offensive and very rude. And I chuckle because I say, well, Johannes, you have to look at it this way. They ain't seen too many of us. He says, I know, but isn't it easier for them to just walk up to me and say, hi, where are you from? Versus just staring me in my face? I find that rude. I said it could be easier, but you're assuming that they speak English.
Mm-hmm.
And so for him, it's mostly the stares. It's how people stare at him. Like, I'm used to it. It's like, they're going to stare.
Mm-hmm.
You can stare. And I tell him all the time, especially the kids that are in that age range between 2 to 5. Whoa, holy cow, they stare like crazy. They stare like crazy at him.
I bet. Your son is sort of tall, like
he's
for
tall,
his age, right?
For his age, he's 11. And so that 2 to 5 year old age range, they give him the blues. We could be walking past a group of 2 to 5 year olds and they'll stop dead in their track. And then just stare at him. He gets so upset. I'm like, they're not playing with kids that look like you. So they're like, who is this?
Well, I'm thinking coming from a place like Sudan where he probably blends in more.
Yeah, he did.
And then go to like, Taiwan. It can be, he can start noticing stares that he once wasn't getting,
Right. And I find it very interesting because prior to coming to Taiwan, we spent 2 weeks in Japan, and we didn't experience that. And it was kind of interesting. And we noticed that it's because all the young people are on YouTube and TikTok and, discourse. Kids are walking down the street and dressed in anime and on their phones. And so we didn't get the stares in Tokyo and Osaka and the other places that we visited. No stares at all. The only stare, when I think back on it, the only stare that I got or that we got was like from the elderly people. And what I mean by that is like people that were maybe in their 80s and their 90s that have never seen Black people before, because they live in the countryside or, in the villages, you know what I mean? But in Japan, people going on about their business, everyday life, could care less. Yeah. Here, I think it's because it's new, to see us here.
Yeah, I find most time when people stare, it's because they haven't seen it in real time before, or real life, or it's rare. Like
it's rare.
You and your son, y'all a bunch of unicorns in Taiwan.
We
are. Okay, so people are gonna stare at unicorns because they ain't never seen a unicorn.
And they know, like, oh, those are the Black Americans. They live in the apartment up the street, or they live in apartment 101. They know, because although it's a small community, so because there's so few of us, it's going to be either one or two Black people that did it. You know what I mean? It's going to be my mother and his son. We were in an Uber the other day before our break. And I saw a Black person, and I thought, I was so tempted. But I said, that would just be so ghetto and ratchet. She was standing at the bus stop, and she was on the phone. And I saw that sister, and I was like, oh, my God. And I said, oh, you yell out to people.
You should have yelled out. You should have reached out to her.
I said, you cannot get out the window like that. I was, because there's a small community of us that are here, very small. And this lifestyle can be very isolating, and it can be very challenging. And so you have to have a mental fortitude or fitness to be able to endure this. This ain't for the weak of heart, because number one, you got several things going against you. You have a language barrier going against you. And so we learn Chinese phrases every now and then. Taiwan was annexed from China, so we learn little Chinese phrases: hello, how are you, thank you, good morning, those things like that. So the language is a barrier. The Taiwanese people are very homogeneous people, everybody look alike when I say that. So to be invited into someone's home or to have Taiwanese friends, it's going to require work. My son got tons of them because he had school. He had a play date the other couple of weeks ago, so he got tons of friends. But as an adult, that can be very different because you're an outsider, and you always will be an outsider, no matter how well you learn the language. There's not a lot of interracial dating here. You're not going to see a Black man. You might see one or two. That's rare, and they're generally from Africa. I saw an African brother a couple months ago. He stopped his car, he waved, and I waved back. But there is a community, but you have to live in that community in order to connect with them. I live in Taipei, which is probably one of the most expensive cities that you can live in, and so I'm kind of in the heart of things. And most people don't live in the heart of Taiwan because it's expensive. So, so it can be very isolating. So you got to do things to protect your mental health, because it can be challenging. It really can be challenging. Lots of Europeans are here. When I say Europeans, I mean from France and Germany. There's some white South Africans are here. People from Ireland, tons of the UK, tons of the Brits, always, always here. So, and so it can be kind of isolating when you realize you're the only Black person in a room or only Black person on the job, and you go, God dang. So you don't have what you need sometimes. So you have to create your own community, and you have to get out, and you have to go to places like this, and then to relieve the stress and enjoy yourself and relax, and then come back to the grind. Because it can be challenging. But it's not challenging for my son. It's like I said, he's in a school where he has tons of friends. And I remind him often, it's great that you have tons of friends, but let's keep in mind, these are rich. When I say rich, I mean rich. Kids getting dropped off in Bentleys and Teslas. These are rich, rich kids. They can write a check and get away with things. Mommy can't write a check. They're gonna send our butt back to the US. So be mindful of that. And I tell them that, be mindful, be very mindful. It's different for us. And so it's a different culture. And it's a different lifestyle. And it's not for everybody. It's not for the faint of heart. You gotta be on your game. You gotta, P's and Q's. And I'm not just talking about Asia, even in Africa, even when I was in Africa, it's the same thing. I'll tell you a little story. I was in Sudan, and I'm all about helping my brothers and sisters get opportunities. And they were looking for some teachers. And I have actually 2 brothers and sisters that have come up to Sudan. Sudan is one of those countries. Number one, it's a Muslim country. Number 2, it's a hardship country. And what I mean by that, the country is always on the verge of war. It's a country that had sanctions put on them because they had a relationship with Saddam Hussein. And so there's no green spaces. It's a desert. It's a Muslim country. You see sisters walking around with booty shorts. That ain't happening. And if they do, you better be prepared. She a hooker of some sort. So there's some decorum that you have to have about yourself, in particular with Sudan. So I had helped the sister get a job. And I had told the sister, listen, this school is run by Brits. You're going to have to come here. You're going to have to be cool. You're going to have to do your job. Mike, this sister comes to Sudan, and I recommended her to get the job. She got the job. She comes to Sudan, and she's sitting back. This my mofo people. These my people. And I'm like, sis, you can't do that. It is white folks running this American school. You have to be
Sudanese school. Man.
No, actually, it was the American Embassy School.
Oh,
it was the American Embassy School, and I was telling her, like, oh, you can't. Her mindset was like, these people are my people, because Sudan has the oldest temples in compared to Egypt. So she was like, these are my people. You don't tell me how to be with my people. I'm like, this ain't that type of party, sis. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we at the American Embassy School, but the superintendent is a white woman, and the people that are under her are white or Sudanese. This it's different. It's just not like this is a school you open in Africa. But her mindset was like, I've traveled all around Africa. I have been everywhere. You can't tell me about Africa. I'm going to behave a certain way because I'm in the motherland. And by the time they were done with her, they sent her packing. They put her on the worst flight getting back to the United States. I felt so embarrassed and so humiliated. Because I kept telling the sister, yeah, I know that you've been to Africa, all over Africa, trekking all your life, but this is a different type of atmosphere. You have to be professional. And one of the assistant heads of school sent me a note, said, Khafilah, this is no, because after they fired her, I was like, oh my God, because I was like, this is a reflection of me. Luckily for me, I had already established myself prior to her getting there. So the parents knew me, the kids loved me, the heads were like, vibing me. And so one of the heads wrote me a note and said, Khafilah, this is not a reflection of who you are. We know that you just simply, recommended her. I don't want you to take this personal. I know that you felt bad, da, 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 da. And so I made a vow, I had never recommended nobody else. Because it's okay to say I have African roots and I know Africa, but when you're talking about schools in Africa, the majority of the people that are running those schools, if it's a British school, then it's British people. If it's a German school, it's German. French, America's. You get so the same rules and decorum that applies in those different countries are the same rules and decorum that apply at these schools. So if you're working at an American school or a British school, it's professionalism. You can't come in and thinking these white mofos and, why they up in Africa and why, No, they're there because the African people put them there, because the African people thought that British education was a better education for their children. And see, that's one of the things that we have to understand, especially when we talk about Africa in particular. The mindset is, I want my kids to speak English. The mindset is, I want my kids to be educated by white Brits. The mindset is, I want my kids to be educated by white Americans. So there's already a mindset, and that's among the elite of Africans. That's the elite Africans. And so they put their kids in these schools where they're paying, as low as, depending on where you are, $8,000 to as much as, $50,000, $60,000 a year for tuition. These are private schools. This ain't no public government education. These are private schools in which the majority of the people that teach in those schools are expats. And so sometimes the mindset in Africa is that, they want white people. They want Brits. That's who they want. And when we come in, it's already a perception that you must be an exceptional Black American or super Black American because you're at one of these schools, which is unfortunate. And I think what the sister was trying to do was like, no, I'm in the motherland. They should want us here. Why? No. You got to keep in mind, these folks been colonized. And until they understand that we are the best fit to teach the children, then they're going to continue to hire Brits. And that's it. And so I was so embarrassed, Mike, and I said, I ain't helping nobody else get no more jobs, because it's a different mind. Even here in Taiwan, it's like Dr. Khafilah, and it's like interesting because it's like, whoa, and the level of respect is very different. I'm the only Black person on my job. Only me.
Yeah.
All eyes on me all the time.
I bet.
So it's like,
so you're not just there vacationing, you're there working also.
Yeah, I'm there doing some work with kids with special needs. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm working with kids that have autism, kids that have ADHD, kids that have dysgraphia, whatever it is, Down syndrome, whatever it is. Yeah, I'm working with that population of kids. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it seems like your vacation, I guess, or your experience in Taiwan is going pretty good so far. Do you think that the hardest part though is trying to connect with a community that you could probably relate to more? Like, is there any I know you said there's a small demographic of Blacks. Do you know of any forums or any ways of connecting to that small community?
There's a group on Facebook called Blacks in Taiwan or something like that. Okay. And I think they have a picnic once a month. They had one in October, and I didn't go, and I heard that it was like amazing. They were like 60 or so folks showed up. I said, God dang, is that many of us here? But mostly from the Caribbean and West Africa. Mostly from the Caribbean, West Africa, because some of them are here at university, doing university, and some are here teaching at university. So yeah, so it's a small community, but it's enough that I could connect with. And then I'm not always an extrovert. Sometimes I'm an introvert. I just don't want to be bothered. And so I'd rather, have a cup of tea, sit in my apartment and watch some TV or read or do some writing. And so part of it is that you have to take the initiative to get out when they have those gatherings like that. If you don't get out, then I ran into a sister I was in the market, and I ran into a sister from Swaziland, an African sister from Swaziland. And so you have to get out in order to run into those people. If you don't get out, then you're not going to see them, so.
You have any plans on going to the next picnic or no?
If I get access to the information, the flyer, I will go to the next one, definitely. Because I want to connect to this one. And let me tell you something that's very interesting about Taiwan. Taiwan was the first, if not the only, Asian country that approved same-sex marriage. The first and only. Yeah. So that's a lot. So there's a strong gay, lesbian, transgender community here. People are very friendly towards that community. Of course, older generation have their perceptions about it, but Taiwan was the first Asian country to approve same-sex marriage. So you see a lot of that here. You see a lot of men, women holding hands. When you're in Africa, you just think that's a part of the culture. But here, it's because same-sex marriage is approved. Yeah.
So it's not the same. It's not the first country. It's the first Asian country.
It's the first Asian country to approve same-sex marriage. Yes.
Do you think the U.S. has something to do with it? USA?
Yeah, it's probably because the U.S. is Taiwan is an ally to the U.S. to keep China, at bay. So probably so.
Yeah, probably a U.S. influence. Not, not saying anything about it. It's just because I know that United States tend to try to
push that agenda.
Push that agenda, persuade countries to try and live that type of lifestyle. Not sure necessarily why that is, but it is what it is. What did you say?
I was shocked, actually.
Well, you got to figure U.S. do a lot of business with Taiwan, so they're you look at half the products in the U.S. and is made in Taiwan. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think
chip from the iPhone to your computer, all of that stuff.
Yeah. So so a lot of times people tend to listen to who giving them the money. So so that's probably how that turned out. So what's going on next for you? Are you going to be how long are you going to be on vacation, and have you enjoyed it, and what else can you tell us about it?
I love it. My son shocked me yesterday because we have like 3 weeks or something like ridiculous like that for the Christmas holidays. And I was going to initially go to Thailand, but where I wanted to go was a resort, and I had my other concerns about Thailand. And then I switched from Thailand to the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man. So I just out of the blue, and I said to my son, hey, we were on our way to the beach in the Uber. I said, hey, I'm trying to organize our Christmas holiday. And I said, we got Christmas, then we got the New Year, then we got the Chinese New Year. I said, where would you like to go? The boy shocked me, Mike. The boy said New Zealand. I said, what?
New
Zealand. So I've already paid for our hotel accommodations last night. I found a fabulous hotel on the beach because people sleep on New Zealand. Again, my son was schooling me on it. New Zealand has some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. When you open up your computer and you see that Microsoft image of those rocks, and that's in New Zealand. That image is from New Zealand. That's a beach in New Zealand. It's something with a W and it escapes me right now. So my son said New Zealand. So we'll be heading, God willing, and the ancestors are by our side. We'll be heading to New Zealand for Christmas.
That's awesome. Your son is getting.
I would have never in my wildest dreams thought New Zealand.
Right.
That's not a place that I would have. Australia, yeah, but New Zealand, I would have never thought about New Zealand.
Your son is getting something that a ton of Black kids don't get to experience, and that's traveling the world at a young age. A lot of them don't even get out of their cities.
Yeah, let alone have a passport. Which can be problematic because it makes him sort of an oddity, an outlier, and it's kind of challenging for him when he is interacting with his cousins because they can't make any connections to anything. So, for example, I sent you some pictures yesterday. We were down at Bashawana Beach. That's where they filmed the movie The Life of Pi. I think I sent you a picture of my son standing. And that beach, oh my gosh, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And so it's it can be kind of challenging for him because he he doesn't have anybody that he can connect to family wise to say, hey, check this out. These are some of the places that I've been to. And I'm not really sure what that stems from. And so he's finding himself creating his own tribe with his friends that he has at school. Because he said to me a while ago, he says, hey, Mom, what do you think my friends would say if I want to share with them some of the places that I've been to? And I said, one of the ways to approach that is to ask them where they've traveled. And then I said, once they start sharing some of the places that they've traveled to, then you can share. So it's so sometimes it's odd. Mm-hmm. It's odd because, like you said, being an expat is one of the ways that you get to travel to all of these places, because I don't really think that I would be able to do this if I was living in the United States. Now, when I was an assistant principal in Denver, one of the things that I did do, I took my son to South Africa on safari, but the amount of hustle that you have to, to do to get that type of money to do that, even making six figures, it's challenging. It's challenging, and so it's not an easy task. So I think I don't have any regrets. I think probably if I did have any regrets, it's the fact that he's not able to make the connections that he needs to make, in terms of finding people of like-mindedness that could try, that do the same thing,
Well, yeah, like I said, y'all some unicorns, because a lot of people haven't done that. And my daughter, for instance, shout out to my daughter, my youngest. She has done practically everything under the sun. She has done more stuff than me. Okay. She has been on airplanes. She has traveled out of the country. She's been in hot air balloons. She's been in submarines. Yeah. I've never been in a submarine before. Yeah, I think she went to San Francisco and rode in a submarine, and nice. Rode horses, 4 wheels, jet skis. I mean, this young lady has done a ton of stuff, and it's not something that a lot of other Black kids especially can relate to.
True.
So
which makes it sometimes especially for young ladies like that, which makes it very challenging in the dating scene, because she'll bore easily with some guy saying,
exactly.
Can we, you know what I mean? So she's more adventurous, and so it's going to take somebody that has the same adventurous spirit for her to connect to, and it's not a bad thing, because you want somebody that has that's like-minded, that enjoys doing those things. Most of the time people wait till they retire, and that's why I say the expat life is a choice, because there's sacrifices that you're making. You're giving up buying a home and having cars and all that other stuff, because there are people that do this life, but most of your money is going back home to pay a mortgage or to pay your car note or to pay you know what I mean? And so when you do this life, you have to decide how long you want to do it and where you want to be and what type of money you want to make, because most people want to travel, but I think that they're tied down to mortgages and other types of things that keep them from traveling. Even when you're making 6 figures, the more money you make, the more stuff you have oftentimes, and it just ties you down. I have a girlfriend they're going on a cruise. They're going to the Bahamas. She has a house, she has a car, and she just can't, some of the girls were like, well, we're going to pay for our airfare. She's like, well, number one, I don't have a husband to just drop money like that. And number two, I got a mortgage, so I'm going to have to pay installments. And I said to her, I understand. And she's a GS-15, something ridiculous like that in the government, making crazy money. But it's hard. I often think about, when this is over, will I be able to repatriate or resettle in the United States? Yeah. Because the stuff that we worry about in the United States, it's not here. Crime and shootings in schools and going into a mall. I'm not saying that things don't exist, but like you shoot somebody here, drugs and shooting in Taiwan is the death penalty straight off the back. No conversation, just straight off the back, death penalty. It's over. And so I think the way that the laws are structured deters people from doing certain things. You know what I mean? Whereas in the United States, oh, maybe that person, they shut up this and did this because they had a mental issue. And they, not here. They're giving that's death penalty here. So I think it's going to be very hard to resettle back in the United States because we're used to a very peaceful lifestyle. My son is probably getting one of the best educations at a private school that you can ever get, that he probably would not be able to get in the United States, no matter how much money I made because of the cost of living. And I'm grateful for that. It's a little challenging for him because he's only 11 years old. So he's in the seventh grade. So it's a little challenging for him, but he's adjusting, which means that he would be 16, 17 when he finished high school. Should we stay, longer beyond what my intentions are of staying? So, yeah.
So, let me ask you this. Is there any advice you would give to a expat who is just starting out, who was thinking about being an expat or anything of that nature as far as traveling and living that type of lifestyle? What advice would you give that person? Especially, just anybody, I guess. I will say especially Black people, but because we have a different perspective on the world perceives us a little differently, I would say. So what advice would you give them?
I think, quite honestly, I would say that you got to think this thing out thoroughly. It's not for the faint of heart, because you're going to have family members, especially if you're in your early 20s doing this, which is rare. And what I mean by that, let me just put a clip on that. This is white boy opportunities. These types of jobs are white male privilege. They're white females that are in the game. But this is privilege stuff. This is stuff that we come to know about late in the game. We know about Peace Corps. We know about those types of things. But Peace Corps was mostly a volunteer thing that ultimately led you to get government jobs under John F. Kennedy, all that other stuff. But this is, for example, you can go to Dubai, and if you're at a really good school, you can make $8,000 to $10,000 US tax-free easily in Dubai. But those jobs are so locked down by white males that it's very hard to get a job in Dubai as a principal or an assistant principal making that type of money, because the white males from the UK and Australia and all these other places lock down on those jobs. And then too, the mindset of those people often is those people are most qualified because they sometimes think that the skin color defines qualification. I would say somebody doing this, you have to really make sure that your first job is in a place that you really want to be. I absolutely love Africa, but I would say that Africa is very difficult depending on where you are. If you have children, it can be very, especially today's children, because that technology is what got a lot. So the internet ain't always, it can be rough. But I absolutely loved Africa. I loved Ethiopia. I loved Kenya. But Africa can be very challenging because you have to get used to some of the nuances. For example, you go to the bank, you standing in line, somebody walk in the door, the line can be all the way out the door. Somebody walk in the door and walk right in front of the line and get in front of you and everybody else. Or the bank and everybody shut down because it's tea time. Or the bank and everything shut down because it's salat. You got to make prayer. So you got to have the right mindset to work in Africa, and in particular. Maybe South Africa is a little different because it's more Americanized, if you will, but you have to have the right type of mindset to deal with a lot of things to deal with Africa. If you want to make money, Asia is the countries, Dubai and Qatar, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. But you have to be the type of individual, especially as a woman, with not having your booty cheeks hanging out. You can't go to those countries dressed like that. You
Right,
can't.
right.
You can't tell me how you gotta. Those are Muslim countries, and so you have to. When in Rome, when I was in Sudan, I was always long skirts, whatever. I always made sure. Sometimes I even covered my head, and it's not because I was afraid or anything. It was because I wanted to draw less attention to myself. I wanted to just kind of blend in with the culture.
When in
Um,
Rome, do what Romans do.
exactly. And so a lot of things you cannot take your Americanness with you. The Europeans do it all the time. Wherever they go, they want to impose whatever their stuff. But as Black Americans, we have to be different. When I was in Ethiopia, I wore Ethiopian garb every single day to work. I love the garb. The Ethiopian clothing. I wore it every single day.
I love it too. I
Uh,
I wish we could bring that to the U.S. That
yes.
garb for the women, and instead
Yep.
of I'm more attracted to that than the cheeks hanging out. To be honest.
Yes. Yes. So I would say, and I would say, so your first appointment should be something that you really want to do. I would say one of the advantages is that if you have a degree in math, if you have a degree in the sciences, computers, any of those jobs, you get a job like that, especially in the so-called Middle East, like Qatar, Saudi Arabia. The money is ridiculous in those places. There's an age limit for most of them. Sometimes it's 60, sometimes it's 65. Oh, what happened?
Sorry about that.
Oh, I was going to say the age limit sometimes is 60, 65. It depends on where you are. But I would say the most important thing out of all of that information that I gave you, you have to know who you are. This is not for the faint of heart, because sometimes sometimes you may be the only Black person. Sometimes you may be amongst a whole lot of Black people. And when I say Black, I mean Africans, because there's not a lot of us doing this. You may be amongst a whole lot of Africans, and you realize just because you're amongst a whole lot of Africans doesn't mean that they have the same mindset. Because again, some of them think just like Europeans, unfortunately. And you'll be shocked. You'll be like, wait a minute, you Black, I'm Black, and you behaving like that? Because they're trying to align themselves to get the next best gig, especially in top schools like the embassy schools, or some of the better schools. Sometimes my African brothers and sisters behave in a manner that you're just shocked by. Like what is this all about? Number 3, I would say, don't be tripping. Some of the Africans are more qualified and more qualified and just as highly educated as you are as an American. So don't think, that your degrees implies that you're more educated than the Africans. But some of them got some like 4 and 5, 6 degrees. That's just ridiculous. So I think humility is probably another one of the things that, it's very key. Again, it's just not for the faint of heart. Your family and your friends are gonna be, what you doing that for, and why are you doing that? And they're not gonna understand it, and and so it's a glorified job or place to be, but it has its hardships as well. It's political. Like I said, most of the white boys are in these positions of authority in these countries, in these schools, in these countries. So you got to play a game. You got to play a game, and you got to be cordial, and all the stuff you do in corporate America, basically, because these are corporations. And the payoffs is you get to travel all over the place. When I was in Ethiopia, I loved Ethiopia because I could hop on a plane and get to Dubai in 4 hours, or 2 hours. I go from Dubai, which was a central hub. I go to Singapore and Thailand. I could just fly all over the place from Dubai, which is great. And I think that's the perk of it. The other piece is being able to save money if you can, depending on where you live. There's places like Singapore is very, very expensive. The cost of living is very expensive. Dubai is very expensive. And so it just depends on where you are. I just enjoyed it, period. I enjoy it. I don't know what's going to come after this. I have to figure it out. I don't know. I'm getting old, Mike. I can't keep doing this.
Nah, you still young, girl. You still young. So yeah. It sounds like be humble, be patient, be have some humility and be respectful of the culture that you're in,
Definitely.
you know, and you
Oh no,
know,
don't come with nobody speak English. No, you're the one that's ignorant because you didn't take the time to learn a second language.
right,
What
right,
I'm saying? It's like, no, you can't come to another country and say nobody speak English. No, 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 no. It's you. You the one, you know.
right, exactly.
I have an app on my phone where I learn 5 Chinese words a day. And I practice them when I go out.
That's what's up. That's what's up. What would you consider the top three benefits of being an expat?
Travel, travel, and travel.
Different experiences every time.
I mean, I just told you, my son said to me yesterday, "Mommy, let's go to New Zealand." Like, I what? Like when if we were stateside, that would be that's the last place on my mind. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
and the funny thing about it was like I Googled it and I said, "Yo," I said, "That's a 14-hour flight from here." He was like, "That's okay. I'll sleep. I'll watch some movies. I can get some snacks."
I hope he's prepared to be a unicorn there too.
Yeah. Except for among the what is the Mawari people, Mawori, the indigenous people, the Aborigines, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I thought about Papua New Guinea as well. Australia is only 8 hours, so I couldn't quite figure out like why is New Zealand so far? But then when I looked at it on the map, I was like, well, wait a minute, it's just right after Australia. So why is it? But yeah. So I booked a place for a week in Australia. I mean, a week in New Zealand, and then we're going to go to Auckland or Wellington, the capital, and spend the New Year there. Mm-hmm.
Y'all living the life, boy.
Yeah, and you
Y'all
don't
living
need
the
a
life.
visa. See, that's the nice thing about having that American passport. No visas for either New Zealand or Australia. You just need something called a easy something. I can't remember what it is. Go online, fill out some paperwork, and you can print it out. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I'm excited about New Zealand when I think about it because I started googling it, and just the green. It's just a beautiful, beautiful country.
Well, I think New Zealand is up there as far as happiest places to be on Earth. As
Yeah,
far as population happiness level, as far as I would say lifespan. No,
lifespan.
I think that's somewhere in Asia though. But
Norway is one of them. Finland is a place that I thought about going to because I hear people talk about how good the water is, the drinking water in
oh
Finland.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You could pretty
I
much
think
scoop
when I
that
think
right out
about
of the rivers and drink
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, because when I thought about New Zealand, I thought about the Northern Lights, but they were saying that it's so hard to catch those. So yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
has.
so
Yeah, a lot of the water there hasn't been touched by humans or haven't been contaminated by humans in Finland, I believe it is. So I think it was labeled the country with the best water. It could be Finland, it could be another like one of them
yeah.
Norwegian joints, but I heard they got the best water up there. So
And you know what's so funny now that you and I are talking about this? It's so funny when I say travel, travel, travel. I think most of us we think the epitome, unfortunately, and I'm not knocking anybody that does it, but I just have no desire for it really. I think most people think the epitome is going to Europe. Like we got to go to Paris and we have to go to,
hmm.
see the Eiffel Tower, which is okay, great. We have to, I think most people think, oh, we have to go to Germany. We have to go. My son and I really ain't interested in that. I mean, I'm not saying there's no history there, but that ain't really our thing. We try to go to places where there's some indigenous people, and there are some the original. We're going to China because the original Chinese were us, and
Right,
there
right.
is some Aborigine
That's what you're
tribes.
saying.
There's
Hmm.
some the Aborigine tribes here in Taiwan that we're
Oh,
going to go further south to
there's
see
some
those
in the
tribes.
Philippines too. It's
Yeah, that live in the villages. Yep. So
yeah, yeah.
we want to go with some places where we can make some connections to our history. You
That's
know,
awesome. That's dope. I
I'm not
like
really.
that.
I mean, I'm not saying that Paris. I mean, James Baldwin and Richard Wright, all those went to Paris, but it's like that ain't really, first of all, I'm not really too fond of the French people. They can be rather rude and nasty, and I'm not really down for that. I can't be a Karen out here fighting in the streets with some French people, you know. So
have you heard that in Italy that they haven't had a baby born in 3 months? Did you see
I heard that? Yeah, and I
that
saw
something?
something that fact. Yeah, their population is old and dying off.
Yeah, and they're becoming extinct in Italy.
Crazy. That's
That
crazy. That's why they
is
probably was giving away so much land, not giving away, but asking people to move there, and they'll pay X amount of dollars and this and that.
right.
You know, a lot of folks go to Italy, but when I read the expat blogs, I hear a lot of people talk about the racism in Italy. Maybe it's in, maybe they say you go, what is it, Southern Italy? That's another place I'm not really like, okay.
Yeah.
I think everybody got their own taste for what they want, but I'm not really trying to go anywhere where I'm not welcomed, you know?
Yeah, I'm still here. I don't know what's going on with my camera all of a sudden. Okay.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
I'm not welcomed. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, go where
Maybe
you're celebrated, not tolerated. That's what they say. So
yeah.
I don't know.
But you should you know, I have an extended stay here, so you should try to make your way to Taiwan if you
Yeah. If
it's a 32-hour flight.
If I got that extended invitation, I may make my way out there. Who
Yeah, I
knows?
think it's challenging sometimes because when you think about how long the flight is, most people are like, "Woof, no, it's too long." But hey,
Yeah, I've been in Asia before, so
yeah, it's a
Philippines.
long flight.
So yeah.
Fly through California, then from California fly onward. So, you know, I would say come on out here and check out Taiwan. You probably like it.
Can you show me another pic of that view you got?
I sure can. I'll hold my thing up so you can see it this way.
Nice.
Hopefully your
Wow.
people on the podcast will be able to see the city over there. People on the podcast will be able to see this. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah. You know, because that, like I said, I think it's perception. Everything is perception. When you don't know, you don't know, you know? So it's really beautiful. Yeah. But we are heading back to the city. Our train, taking their bullet train, leaves at 12. So we're heading back to the city at 9 o'clock and get back to the life, if you will, back to normal. I got one more rest day. Get back, do some groceries, and get ready for the week.
All right. Yeah, my camera is really upsetting me. So I don't know what's going on with it all of a sudden, but I appreciate it. Thanks for showing us and giving us that story, Khafilah. It's been pretty awesome. Any last words you want to say?
Travel, see the world.
Yeah, definitely. Travel and see the world, y'all. Thanks for joining. Hit the like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.